According to some scholars of Islam, there are verses in the Holy Quran that seem to allude to the possibility of extraterrestrial life. So perhaps it's no surprise that we're getting reports of UFOs from Islamic countries like Pakistan. Are they the real deal? Let's take a look.
January 25th, 2022, Islamabad, Pakistan. It's dusk, and Arsalan Warridge is watching the sunset from the roof of his home. He's just about to go inside when he spots this.
This is just an odd thing.
Do you see it? A mysterious black object is hovering in the sky.
Definitely not a bird.
As Arsalan zooms in, it appears to resemble a flying rock with a huge bulge in the back. The craft hovers almost stationary for nearly 2 hours, about 1,500 feet in the air, at times changing shape until it almost resembles a triangle.
I was shocked and excited, actually. There was no light or anything. It wasn't emitting or reflecting any light. It wasn't anything that I have seen ever. I firmly believe that there are other civilizations who are probably billions of years ahead of us in evolution. Who's to say that they're not visiting?
So could it be a real UFO? Writer Heidi Hollis, who specializes in the unexplained, says it may be part of a recent growing trend in the skies above Pakistan.
Just a year prior to this event, pilots on a Pakistani international airlines photographed a UFO during a domestic flight. And a spokesperson for the airlines actually confirmed the incident on social media, adding that the company didn't know what the object was and would continue to investigate the matter.
But Hollis also notes that location may play a key role in what we're seeing. Arsalan lives in Islamabad's military residential zone called the Defense Housing Authority. And there is speculation that this is very much an earthbound craft called a loitering munition.
Loitering munitions will go into an area and wait until it finds its target and it goes to attack.
Loitering munitions work exactly as it sounds. Some can linger in the air for hours, then be instantly fired, and hit a target faster than a rocket or mortars deployed from further away. Some can carry a warhead powerful enough to take out armored vehicles and artillery nests.
More and more lately, I am seeing and hearing about these types of craft, but ultimately being that this location is military residential. There's so many things that you could speculate about what it is.
Talk about a close call. Good thing Arsalan lived to tell us his story. These loitering munition drones are unofficially known as kamikaze drones, as they are designed to be on a one-way mission. More than a dozen countries have these kinds of drones in their arsenal. Did Arsalan see one of them? Maybe another kind of drone? Or did the object have otherworldly origins? Our experts weigh in.
We begin with forensics video analyst Michael Primo to see if the video is even real.
There's some macro block compression around, and when it was processed, it reduced a lot of that detail necessary to make an identification, so it's heavily compressed, although there's no direct evidence to support that it's been changed or fabricated.
So if what we see is real, could Arsalan have captured a genuine UFO? We ask physicist Matthew Shadagis.
UFO sightings, if they're actually captured on film, are typically brief, minutes at best. Here we have an object that stayed in the sky for hours and let itself get captured on film.
Shadagis thinks that lack of motion along with its shape are important clues.
It appears like it could be triangular. And while triangle is a classic shape associated with UFOs, it is also a classic shape of kite, perhaps diamond shape, which this appears like it could be.
But how could a kite stay in place for so long?
Kites should move along with the wind. But what can happen is you can have different gusts of wind from different directions that can almost cancel out to create the illusion of something being stationary.
So if it's a kite, those minor movements could explain why it changes shape. But military aviation expert Tim McMillan believes there's a clue in the video that suggests another possibility.
You can see what appears to be some type of rotors.
It's hard to see, but McMillan thinks this choppy movement around the object could be rotating blades.
That leads us down the road of, is this some type of drone system?
But is it possible this is one of the dreaded kamikaze drones? McMillan isn't so sure.
There are several different variants of loitering munitions. However, these only have about 20 to 30 minute flight times, and actually a little smaller than this object appears to be. And we would have to ask who would be flying a loitering munition over a very populated city in Pakistan.
Instead, it's the extended flight time that leads McMillan to the most likely scenario.
I am inclined to believe that this is some type of rotary wing drone aircraft. Its purpose, if I had to speculate, intelligence reconnaissance type activities in an urban environment.
So is this all about information gathering? Surveillance drones above a neighborhood that could also be considered a sensitive military location, like the Defense Housing Authority?
There's lots of different things from the local Pakistani government in terms of anti-terror operations. Could be signals intelligence. It's gathering phone messages. It's gathering electronic data, such as cell phone data, that type of thing. Or if it's just an optical surveillance system. So it's following and monitoring somebody that's maybe a person of interest. I think the area in which they're being filmed, that's a possibility.
Our verdict? Well, Primo said it could be a fake, but he's not sure. If it's real, we're going to go with a surveillance drone. McMillan's remark on the extremely long flight time was the clincher. But one thing's for sure, loitering munition drones appear to be a crucial tool in the future of warfare.
It's November 2017 near the village of Asuka, southeast of Osaka, Japan. Travel blogger Doug Merritt is filming his trek through the surrounding hills and forest when he arrives at his destination.
I think I see it right in front of me. Wow. It's actually bigger than I expected.
His video shows a gigantic stone structure rising above the dense forest floor on a hillside. There's an indentation down the middle with two rectangular holes on either end. Made of solid granite, the carved mound is 36 by 26 feet and stands 15 feet high.
The stone seemed to be out of place there at the top of the hill. It was just sitting there, appearing to have just fallen from the sky out of nowhere.
Mars researcher George Haas says this 800-ton carved boulder is known as Masuda no Iwafune, which means the rock ship of Masuda. Some believe it's tied to a Japanese legend put into writing in the early 1800s.
A group of fishermen noticed an unusual spacecraft landing in the distance in the water. The ship came to shore, a door opened, and they could see a lovely woman coming out of the spacecraft. And she started speaking to them in a language they had never heard before. And as soon as she got there, she got back into the craft and flew away, never to be heard of again.
So is the rock ship of Masuda a carving to commemorate this encounter? Some believe it looks like the hollow ship drawings. But most think it's a lot older, dating to Japan's Old Mound period between 250 and 500 AD. During that time, in the same area as the rock ship, the ancient Japanese built several giant keyhole-shaped formations. And here's where it gets weird. George Haas says similar formations are found in one other place, Mars. Look at them side by side. The photo on the right was taken by NASA.
This structure on Mars is completely symmetrical. It is a keyhole formation with a circular mound at the top and a triangular form at the bottom.
Is there a connection between this part of Japan and the Red Planet? Something that had cosmic visitors interested in both?
The Valley of Asuka, where the rock ship and these tombs are found, is considered the birthplace of Japanese civilization. Many cultural transformations, including the introduction of Buddhism, began there around 500 AD, but little is known about the era before that. So what can our experts dig up?
Archaeologist Dr. Ed Barnhart considers that the rock ship of Masuda could have anything to do with the legend of the hollow ship.
There's a whole myth around this magical woman. It was actually documented in 3 historic texts that talked about the same story.
Still, Barnhart agrees the formation is much older than the rock ship legend of the early 1800s. He joins other experts who place its creation to that period of ancient Japan when the keyhole formations were built. Barnhart adds that those strange keyholes on Mars are most certainly the result of natural forces like erosion, while the Japanese keyholes are man-made tombs.
This is a very religiously steeped area, and at a time period called the tumulus period, there were a number of stone-built and carved tombs in the area. So this may fall into that tradition.
Okay. Then since the rock ship of Masuda was found near these tumulus-era burial mounds, could it also be a tomb? Anthropologist Kathy Strain investigates.
What we do know is that this area was used a lot during the Great Burial Period. And so it's quite possible that this was the start of a burial and it ended up getting abandoned because it got a crack in it. So then it's not perfect anymore.
But Barnhart has another idea. It relates to the ancient practice of fermenting rice to make the brewed alcohol sake.
There's another stone in the area called the sake boat stone that has a variety of circular holes and canals that functionally could be used in the process of sake making, skimming the top of one, making it more pure in the other ones as the canal feeds the process through. This one is very different though. The holes are deep, there's only 2 of them. They don't actually align up very well to let one skim the other.
It's an interesting theory, but at this point, that's all it is. There's no evidence for the tomb or the sake theory, either in the written or archaeological records. All we have is the stone and our best guesses.
Our verdict, it is still unknown exactly who carved this mound and why. The legend of the hollow ship UFO also remains a nazo. That's Japanese for mystery. But there are enough independent accounts of it that we're not ruling out a close encounter of the Japanese kind.
December 2018, 2 German tourists are walking to the beach in the Italian port city of Catania. They're coming from a party, but it's what they see next that makes this a night to remember. The video starts with a large glowing diamond in the middle of a black sky. It then zooms out to reveal what looks like 2 diamond-shaped UFOs. Despite their apparent lack of flight features like wings, propellers, or means of propulsion, these diamonds seem to hang steadily in the sky as the video continues on for a whopping 6 minutes. Investigative journalist MJ Benaya says Italy is no stranger to alien visitations.
In 1978, a security guard by the name of Pier Fortunato Zanfretta claimed that he saw a strange UFO object and was subsequently abducted by aliens. He agreed to go on television and to be hypnotized live in front of an audience.
Solo la mia voce potrà rievocare in te, su mia precisa richiesta, i tuoi ricordi.
Zanfretta even offered to take pentothal, which is known as truth serum, and he described strange encounters with triangular UFOs and alien abductions and a whole array of different sort of strange alien encounters.
Now, the truth about truth serums is they've never been officially proven effective, much less ethical. But can this video of inexplicable flying objects over Italy finally prove the reality of Zanfretta's experiences? Our experts take a closer look.
First, we turn to our video forensic analyst, Michael Primo, to determine if the footage is even real.
No evidence of digital alteration was detected, no CGI was detected, and the operator was essentially trying to record something that didn't get recorded accurately, in my opinion. So the result is inconclusive at this point.
Next, we take them to astronomer and visual effects designer Mark D'Antonio to determine if we could be looking at a UFO or some other flying vehicle.
If this was an aircraft, then we would expect the aircraft to change its position relative to the camera and most importantly relative to the other objects in the view. They don't change. They are stationary relative to each other. So they're not aircraft, they're not drones, they're not balloons, they're not other strange military craft. And we know these aren't satellites because satellites move across the sky. These are just locked stationary.
Under closer investigation, D'Antonio determines that the diamond-shaped lights seen in the video may not be what they appear to be at all.
The diamond shape has to do with the shape of the iris of the camera, which is the actual shape inside the camera of the little leaves that make the shutter stop down or get smaller and get wider. And when you go out of focus, the light is spread across the entire sensor, but it's eclipsed by the edges of that iris shape.
The effect is known as bokeh.
And if the iris shape is a diamond, you'll see a diamond. If it's a different shape, you'll see a different shape. In this case, it's a diamond.
So if this alleged diamond-shaped UFO isn't even diamond-shaped, what is it? D'Antonio thinks he spotted a clue.
So in this particular frame, here are the lights in question here, but if you look down further, there's more lights going all the way down. If you draw a line between them logically, there is a slope here. And I believe what we're looking at are lights on the ground. But the person taking the image doesn't understand where the horizon is and where the local horizon is. They don't realize that maybe there's a hill here and that their lights are a little bit elevated on the hill. They may think they're in the sky, but they're actually ground lights.
Our verdict, unidentified ground lights. We looked, but were unable to determine exactly where in Catania, Italy, this footage was taken to compare it to the landscape in the daytime. But D'Antonio's analysis appears to fit the facts in our mind. Most likely, we're looking at cars or street lights. As for Zanfretta's experiences, we're leaving that case open for further investigation.
March 30th, 2022. It's a partly cloudy day in Melbourne, Australia, when a man notices something in the sky that's not so white and fluffy. In fact, the sight is so surprising he breaks the law to pick up his phone while driving and captures this. 3 gray-colored objects streak across the sky.
These things.
The crafts appear to be cylinders flying in formation. But let's zoom in as the camera follows them across the sky. Have they changed shape? According to journalist MJ Banias, if these are UFOs, Banias says it wouldn't be the first time they've made headlines in Melbourne.
The Westall UFO incident is probably one of the most famous UFO cases out of Australia. It occurred in 1966, where several hundred school children saw what looked to be like a flying saucer literally hovering outside their school building. In fact, several teachers on site said they also saw this object.
But unlike the Westall incident, these UFOs appear to be shape-shifting. We've brought you stories of mysterious shape-shifting UFOs before, like this video from Salento, Italy in 2017. Is that possible? Scientists have experimented using substances similar to silly putty that can behave as both liquid and solids. We seem to be seeing that kind of technology on display here, but is it alien?
We often view this idea of shape-shifting as being something from science fiction, but in the case of this video, there's definitely a belief out there that it could be.
So are we looking at a shape-shifting UFO here? Or could it be some kind of secret craft developed by a nation here on Earth? Well, if you are looking for information from the Australian government, you are out of luck. Despite recent UFO disclosures from the US military, in 2011, the Australian Department of Defense said all of their UFO files were either lost or purged. So in order to find out what this really is, we'll have to ask our experts.
So is this video real or an elaborate CGI hoax? We take that question to forensic video analyst Michael Primo.
No fragments or information about the original device were detected. It appears to be something that's actually traveling in the sky. However, because of the high level of compression and the lack of digital integrity, they can't be verified as an authentic piece of evidence, in which case the result is inconclusive.
Next, we check in with Rich Hoffman. If this video is real, does he think it could be a UFO?
UFOs don't do what you see in here, which is where they change 1 minute from a disc shape over into something that's relatively long. Morphing like that is just not characteristic of the phenomena.
Aviation expert Tim McMillan agrees.
We just don't see any behavior, we don't see any movement, any abrupt changes in speed. It is traveling fast, which makes it unusual, but not so fast that I don't think that there could be conventional explanations for it.
If it's not a UFO, then are we looking at secret military technology?
I'm unaware of anything that has been developed by the military that combines some sort of shape-shifting technology that would be operational and flying.
So if it's not a UFO or secret technology, what is it? McMillan says he sees a clue.
So when the objects start passing over a building, I can't see wings. You can start to see the vague hint of a rear tail stabilizer. That would start leading me into the area that we may be looking at 3 aircraft.
Aircraft without wings? How is that possible? Hoffman explains it's an optical illusion based on the position of the camera.
You see things depending upon your perspective. For example, if I'm at the bottom of a disc-shaped object or a circular object, I would obviously see and say, well, it's round. If I were off at an angle, I might be saying, well, wait a minute, from this perspective, it looks like it's oval.
McMillan agrees the placement of the camera not only hides the markings of an aircraft, but also explains the shape-shifting.
Where it appears to be changing shape really just has to do with the angle of where they're being filmed. So those wings are obscured. And they're flying in such a close formation. What we're looking at here is going to be 3 distinct aircraft that just happen to look like one based on the angle of the camera.
But why would 3 airplanes be so low in the sky and dangerously close to each other?
I think we could possibly be looking at 3 stunt aircraft. So aircraft that are specifically designed for acrobatic flight. That theory would explain why you would have 3 aircraft flying in such close proximity.
The best stunt pilots in tight formation have been known to fly a mere 3 feet apart.
They're flying in such a close formation that the angle that it's being filmed has made it appear like this is a shape-shifting aircraft.
Our verdict? We're going with airplane aerobatic demonstration. And when we did a little digging of our own, turns out McMillan is correct. It just so happens that on March 30th, 2022, the Royal Australian Air Force dedicated a new memorial at Point Cook, a suburb less than 10 miles from where the video was taken. The dedication included an aerobatic plane performance. And according to public flight data, the direction the driver is facing is exactly where these planes would have been.